called Let's Go Dumpster Diving for Leads, Sales, and Profits. And so, let's see, there we go, next slide. All right, so I think we can all agree that marketing and lead generation is just getting more expensive. It's not really getting cheaper, right? And so that's an issue that we need to address. Competition today is fierce. There is a lot of competition out there. And to make matters worse, consumers have more options than ever before. They're also more distracted than ever before. They're also more educated than ever before, right? So they're good times, right? But also we've got some, hurdles as business owners that we have got to overcome. So let's talk about what actually is dumpster diving. Why do I call it dumpster diving? So it's proactively doing all we can to maximize the overall lifetime profit value of each and every customer. Said another way, it's basically how do we extract the maximum amount of money out of each and every customer? Given that it's so expensive to get a lead and to make a sale, and then go through the operational piece of ordering materials, getting your installers together, actually going out and doing the job, we better make sure that we've got a system in place for getting as much money out of that customer as possible. Now, where does this opportunity live? Where do you go looking for this opportunity? For some of you, it's the picture on the left, which is your file cabinets, wherever you keep your old files of your past customers, right? Or for some of you, it's going into your CRM system, right? Next week, I don't know how many of you are going to be in Las Vegas for the QR Top 500 event. If you're going to be there, please stop by. I'm going to be there. I think I'm on day 2 on Friday before lunch. But I'm going to be with Tim Mush at MarketSharp. And we're going to talk a little bit about how do you make more money without necessarily getting another lead. But if you have a system like MarketSharp, all of the data is there. All of the data that you need is there. It's just a matter of how do you mine that data and how do you create a process or a system for extracting that value out of your database, out of your old customers. So why do we need to do this? Okay, so for those of you that saw my email, I basically said at the bottom, hey, look, right now, a lot of people are thinking, well, we have more leads than we can handle, right? Or we have enough leads right now. We don't need more leads. We need something else. Okay, that's fine. But can we all agree it's not always going to be that way? And so what you don't want to wake up one day and say is, oh, shit, my lead costs are out of control, or we're slowing down this month, or we're slow this month. What are we going to do? We need leads. We need leads, right? What generally happens in those cases is you go you'll scramble, and some people will go back to their database and they'll hit the phones or do whatever, basically begging their customers for more business. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to put ourselves into a situation where we have this, oh shit, my lead costs are out of control, or oh shit, I don't have leads. I call that oh shit marketing, by the way. You don't want to do that. You want to be prepared ahead of time. You want to be prepared now while business is good. The other side of this too is if you're if you leave your customers on their own, well, there's a very good chance that you're going to lose them to your competition, right? I was on the phone with a company yesterday, and I asked them, I said, have you ever been to a home show or driven through a neighborhood, and a customer, one of your customers, was having a job done, something you could have done, but they were doing it with your competition? And of course, everybody's going to say yes. And if you're not saying, unless you have one of these systems set up and you say no, you're lying, either to yourself or to, whatever. But they'll be going and doing business with somebody else. Why? Because the competition is spending more money and more resources and more effort to get that lead than you are. Okay? And if you've already got them, and you aren't doing everything that you can to keep them and multiply them, shame on you, right? That's just how it is. The other side of this too, and you've heard me say this before if you've ever been on any of my webinars or listened to any of my podcasts, is to really have long-term staying power in this business and to build real wealth in this business, you've got to establish relationships with your customers. You've got to be able to rely on them to some degree to drive business to you. Okay? If you're constantly waiting for new leads, right now, there's lots of leads to be had. But we don't know if it's going to be that way a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. And look, this is not doom and gloom talk. This is opportunity talk. Now is the time, right? Again, you don't want to have to go to oh shit marketing, right? Because oh shit marketing is risky, it's expensive, and it's going to come at a time when you can least afford it. So now is the time to get this set up and set up properly. Now, when you drive more of your business from your relationship with your customers, here's some of the things that will happen. Your overall lead costs will come down. Your profitability will go up. Your business and your brand value will go up. And your long-term business security goes up. Now, we look at a lot of businesses. We work with, hundreds of companies like many of yours online. I mean, we're only in the home improvement space. We don't work with anybody else, only home improvement companies. A healthy replacement business, let's talk replacement for a second. A healthy replacement business should get 35%, about a third of their business from repeat and referral, regardless of your size. A healthy one. And I said at least. I have clients that are 40, 50, 70. I have a client that's 80% of their business, okay? If you're a home service business, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, handyman, anything that's a home service, that number should be almost double. You should be at 50 to 60% of your business coming from the relationship that you have with your customers, okay? This is basically, look, do front-end lead generation, bring a new customer in. But when you bring new customer in, how are you going to keep them so they come back and buy from you again? And then how do you multiply them through either referrals, radius marketing, right? Every job should turn into another job. Every job you get should turn into another job, and you need to have strategies in place to be able to do that. Now, for those of you that don't know me, and this is your first time here, welcome. I have been in the home improvement. I'll spare all of you that know me the whole long thing, but for those of you that don't know me, I've been in the home improvement industry my entire adult life. Started off as a commission salesperson. I've owned 5 home improvement companies, one of which I turned into a national franchise. Since 2009, I've owned a company called G4 Marketing Group. And at G4 Marketing Group, we basically work with some of the most successful companies in the country, home improvement companies, helping them develop sticky, profitable relationships with their customers. We're essentially their outsourced relationship marketing partner, if you will. I'm also the host of the Wealthy Contractor podcast. If you're here on this webinar and you're not listening to the Wealthy Contractor podcast, I would strongly urge you to go wherever you get your podcasts from and subscribe. Try a few episodes out. We get a ton of really good feedback on that. That's enough about me. Let's talk about you. All right. So when we talk about dumpster diving and the opportunity that's there, there's really 3 approaches for you to take. Number 1 is what we call customer re-engagement and reactivation. Basically going after past customers that you've really not done much with since you got them. Number 2 is developing ongoing regular communication with the customers that you've got. That's your second approach. And then the third approach, which I'm going to talk about briefly, is establishing the relationship early. What do you do immediately upon, job being completed, right? And you're ready to scurry away and go to the next job like everybody else does. What are the things that you can put into place so you start to develop a process for this, so you have a system for this, so you're not dependent always on new. All right. One of the things, by the way, that I really like about what we're talking about here on this training is it's under the radar. Under the radar. It's stealth. Once you get a customer and they go into your database, you have an opportunity there to communicate with them privately. Whereas all of your advertising that you're doing outside of to get new customers, whether it's TV, radio, print, canvassing, home shows, whatever it is, your competition's probably there too. And so because your competition is there too, they see everything that you're doing. They see everything that you're doing. They see your offers. They see how you're communicating with customers. They see what your processes are. But when you have a system set up to communicate privately, directly with your customers, you come in under the radar. They have no idea what you're doing. None. Zero. Okay? And done right, it's a captive audience. It's a captive audience. Right? So this is one of the reasons why I love this opportunity, and I'm shocked and amazed that more people don't take advantage of it. All right? So let's look at number 1, customer re-engagement and reactivation. There are a lot of ways that you can approach it. I'm going to show you some samples of some things that we've done. Look, one of the things, again, if you're new, one of the things about us here at G4 is I'm never going to show you stuff that we've not done before. We only show you real world stuff that has worked. all this stuff that hasn't worked, we're not going to show it to you because we won't do it again. We only do stuff that works. So I'm going to show you a couple examples here of some different ways that you can re-engage and reactivate your past customers. Now, one of the things that we have to think about here and we have to be aware of, and let's talk about the two very different types of home improvement businesses. You've got the replacement business, which about 80% of our clients are in the replacement business: windows, roofing, siding, one-day bath. A smaller percentage of our business is companies that do plumbing, HVAC, home services, okay? Let's hit home services for a second. Here's the deal with home services. When you get a customer in a home service business, again, plumbing, HVAC, anything where you're going out and it's a break fix model. Something is broken and you go out and you have to fix it, okay? The job is to get them to come back again a second time as quickly as possible, okay? So if you're a plumber, somebody's got a leak. They got to get you out there. Right now, as we speak, my water heater has a leak in it, okay? Has a leak. We need to call a plumber. I don't have a relationship with a plumber here. I live in Miami. It's hard to have a relationship with any contractor here in Miami. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. Your markets are different than this place. But once they come out and they fix that water heater, the job is, how do I get back in as quickly as possible? Because there's a whole bunch of other stuff in the house that they should be able to do something with, right? So when we work with plumbing and HVAC companies, our job is, how do we get you in right back again? Whether it's a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, or 2 months later. The time frame is very short. Guess what? After we get in the second time, the job is what? Get in a third time. Get in a third time. Once we get in a third time, what's the job? Get in a fourth time, okay? It's break fix. There's always stuff to do. And one of my strategies, by the way, for that is, so when we get in on a need basis, meaning something is broken, something needs to be fixed, which is the majority of that work, then I go back and I hit them with want stuff. So I ask my plumbing client, what is your most profitable stuff? What is the stuff that you do that's most profitable? For some people, it's bath remodeling. For some people, it's replacing faucets, whatever it happens to be, tankless water heaters. Then what I do is I start a campaign for those higher price want items, okay? So home services, the job is to get in as quickly as possible, because once you get in, by the way, once you're at about 4 times in, that's it. You got them because you have a system to get them to keep coming back. So they're yours. So when they think plumbing, they should think about you. Now, the other side of it is the replacement business, where people are spending anywhere from, if you're doing gutters, $3,000 or $4,000 average sale. If you're doing siding, it could go up to, $20,000, $30,000, $20,000 or $30,000 sale. Average though, $8,000 to $12,000 sale. Keep in mind, that is a lot of money for most people. For most people, that is a lot of money. So are they going to come back next month? So if you do windows, roofing, and siding, let's say, and you do their windows this month, do you really realistically think a month later that they're going to come back and do a roof with you? No. So what's the job? The job is to stay with them, stay with them, stay with them, because their time frame for being open to the next job is somewhere between 12 and 24 months. 12 and 24 months, okay? So when you're doing re-engagement and reactivation programs, I typically like to go to customers that are a year to about 3 years. That's the first group that I would test. Okay. All of this, by the way, everything is a test. Nothing is an absolute that it's going to work. Just because some of the things that I'm going to show you here worked for other people does not necessarily mean it's going to work the same way for you. It could be a lot better, it could be worse, but you have to test it and you've got to see. Okay. So list is very important. Okay, really important. And like I said, 1 to 3 years is kind of where I look at for as the first entry in to reactivation and re-engagement. So this was a really cool reactivation campaign we did a couple years ago. I should have covered, shoot, I didn't do it. But anyway, this was for our client, Opal Enterprises. She spent about $78,000 on this campaign. Basically what she did was she took another portion of her budget that wasn't as effective and said, you know what, I really want to wow my past customers and I really want to pull some money out of them. And so we put together it was a pretty elaborate thing. We sent out cookies to say, you know, just out of the blue, they got a thank you. But within that package was, hey, here's a friends and family gift card. Here's an offer to do other services with us. And you'll see here, I mean, referrals went up, repeat customer sales went up with 105 net new referrals. Revenue was about, you know, $1.2 million. You know, it's not bad, $10,000 per referral that came in. 49 net new. Repeat customers was a little bit more than $10,000 per lead that came in. And then the demo no sales, which was really kind of interesting, 24 net new. That was worth about 20 grand a person. 4% lead cost. This is not, now look, one of the things I am going to say about this is that it was not entirely only because of this. There was other stuff that was also going on at the same time. But you see here, I mean, this was all done at a 4% lead cost. It was worth about $2 million in business. Pretty good reactivation program. Again, this is where the testing comes in. Your old customers are your best prospects. A lot of times they've never really been targeted in an effective way. One of the things that you want to also think about for those of you that have phone rooms, and look, a call center or a phone room can be one person or it could be 80 people. Okay, so when I say, you know, call center or phone room or communications room, look, if you have one person that's doing it, that's that. Okay. Here's another program that we did. Obviously, I'm covering the company name, but this package was a little bit different. This is more of our go-to package. Went out to a little under 5,000 people. About a $17,000 cost, 82 appointments, 44 jobs sold. By the way, this was just in 60 days. This was just in 60 days, 6% lead cost. So I think in the end, I don't know what the numbers are, you know, 6 months out. But I would imagine that probably ticked down a little bit. But the real thing here is that they had never reached out to their customers. I mean, this was a cold list. Not the way I generally prefer to do it. This was a pretty cold list because they'd never really been communicated with before. There was no phone call behind this. Had there been a phone call behind it, I think the results would have been significantly higher. but I won't know that because this particular company did not do a phone call behind it. And so typically what we find is that you can pretty dramatically increase your results. Although, the results in the last one that I showed you, and we have a bunch of these that we've done, but typically you can expect much higher response rates when you follow up with a phone call, regardless of what you're sending out. I mean, whether it's a newsletter, a postcard, a letter, a package like what we sent with a greeting card in it, and all of that. Okay. The second thing here is having regular, ongoing communication with your customer base. So when your customer comes in, and we're going to talk, number 3 is, how do you start the relationship early? But one of the things that you do not want to do is allow your customer to forget about you, to forget about the services that you offer, the solutions you provide, how to get a hold of you. Okay? Those things you cannot afford to do, because look, the reality of it is, think about this, and you'll have to agree with me. Think about your own behavior. Once you're out, once the business is out, okay, you're on to your life, just like your customers are. You're on to your own life. And it's 4 hours or 4 days or 4 weeks, whatever the number is, your company will have been forgotten. Whether it was windows you did, or roofing you did, or bathroom you did, or plumbing fix, whatever. If you let them, they will forget about you. And so that's what happens. That's why you'll lose jobs to the competition, because a year from now, a year and a half from now, 2 years from now, when they're thinking about doing something else to the house, and they see an ad on TV, or they're at a home show and they see somebody else and they get talked up, right? That's how we lose jobs. So you can't passively sit back and wait and see if they're going to come back. You've got to go after them proactively, not only just to stay in front of them, but just make sure they know of everything that you do. Okay? Now, you want to attack this with, I can't go back, hold on. Now, you want to attack this, to me, with all different forms of communication. You want to hit them in the mailbox. You want to hit them in their email box. You want to hit them on the phone. Okay, you want to take a multi-channel approach to this. By the way, I have not started using texting for this ongoing communication. Quite frankly, I don't know how else to say it. It scares me. The idea of sending out promotional, keep in touch stuff via text, to me, still, it's iffy. Now, we do use texting to ask for reviews. That we will do. But as far as a way of staying in touch with the customer, unless they've told you, yes, please, I want you to send me all kinds of stuff through texting, which nobody really does. But other than that, I have not really used texting. So I stick with mail, and for all of our clients, this is what I do: mail, email, and phone. Okay, just as an FYI. Now, mail. So I was actually with the operations team of one of our largest clients yesterday. And we talked a little bit about mail, because we do mail for them. We do newsletters for them a lot. And we were talking about, there was a piece of the business that I was there to deliver a workshop. and talk about a certain piece of the business with them. And we talked about maybe doing mail. And the minute mail came up, everybody in the room was, oh, mail this, mail that. And we tried that. And but nobody wants to get mail. And somebody even said, oh, whatever I get, I just tear it up and throw it away. Well, if you're producing junk mail, yeah, that's what's going to happen. But there was a time when people really liked to get mail, right? But then it got to be too much. About, what was it, like 15 years ago or so, early 2000s, this is what our mailboxes look like. Now, it's starting to happen a little bit again. I mean, my at home, we're getting all kinds of mail again, okay? Now, well, we're just getting a lot of mail, okay? So there's a lot of mail. So there's a lot of sifting and sorting that happens. There's, so the way to think about this, and a guy named, a genius marketing guy named Gary Halbert, dead now, but he said there's A pile and there's B pile mail. A pile is stuff that they need to go through, they want to go through, okay? The recipient. B pile is junk mail. So when you make your mail look obviously like junk mail, it goes B pile. So when every piece of mail that we do, everything goes out, we painstakingly work on it to not look like junk mail, painstakingly, okay? So we end up in A pile, not in B pile, okay? So around the same time that our mailboxes were getting flooded with stuff, this happened. Email started to become more relevant, and more people started using email. And now it looks like this. I think this is a funny picture. This is not my phone, by the way. I do not have 13,678 emails. I never would. That's in Gmail, and then they have 148. I use this thing called SaneBox that cleans my email box. So anyway, whole nother story. But all of a sudden now, the flood of email marketing started. And now it's getting to the point of being ridiculous. Okay. Now I still do email marketing. We do a ton of email marketing, but I don't rely on it. Because I know that I need to also be in the mailbox. I've got to be in the physical mailbox. Think about something. We were talking about this yesterday too, is we get really strong open rates. I mean, we have a couple of different tracks of email. One track is kind of more personal from the owner. So we send out these emails to the customers of our clients on behalf of the owner. It looks like it's coming from the owner, not from me. Those emails have upwards of a 30% open rate, which is incredible. Our other communications, which is like newsletters and promotional stuff, those emails are on average, they're in the 20s or low 20s. Okay, anywhere from a low of 15% up to about a high of 26, 27, depends on the client. Okay, those are incredible open rates. Okay, look up average open rates and you'll see they're pretty incredible open rates. But that's what we do here. Right? I mean, we're always looking at open rates, and we're always looking to make sure that we're keeping our open rates high and we're keeping our opt-out rates low. But even if 30% of the people are opening your emails, 70% of the people still did not get that particular communication. What about in the mailbox? So people have to touch your piece, whatever you're putting out in the mail. Okay, they have to touch it, and then they have to make a decision. Now, let's just say that it looks like junk mail and it goes into B pile and they throw it away. But look, they still saw your name, right? They still saw your logo, And depending on what the piece was, they may have seen other stuff, right? So if you did a big oversized postcard, let's say, right, they still saw windows, they still saw roofing, they still saw whatever it is that you sell. There's value in that. There's value in that, even if you ended up in beef, even if they chucked it right away. Now, obviously, what we want to do is we want to engage them more. We want to entertain them more, so they stay with it instead of for, 20 seconds. Maybe they stay with it a minute or two or three. Okay. So that was mail. Mail has to be touched. I was kind of jumping ahead without the slides. The other thing to think about is, who is your customer? Who is your most profitable customer? Is it a 27 or 28-year-old, or is it a 57-year-old? My bet is, and I'm not much of a betting man, but I will bet you on this, that your most profitable customers are probably 50 to 70-ish, right? Your most profitable customers. And so they're on email, they're on social media, but they like getting mail, right? They'll go through their mail because that's what they grew up with, okay? I'm 50. I like mail, right? I like mail. I go through it just like everybody else does. A pile, B pile, A pile, B pile. I do it. I'll walk out there and we have a place where the mail comes in here, and I'll just stand over it and I'll just say B, 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 walk it over and toss it in the garbage can. But I got an A pile, okay? I got an A pile, and I go through stuff and I look at stuff, okay? So keep in mind, remember who your customer is, right? And so, while millennials are all over their social media and their devices, your customers, your most profitable customers, still like stuff that they can touch and they can feel. Now, since I've been doing, since I've been a really heavy student of marketing, which, goes back to probably 1995 or 1996 when I first met, it's right here. Look at where it is, okay? Move that shit out of there. I've talked about this book before. I don't know if you guys can really see this, but it's Money-Making Secrets of Marketing Genius, Jay Abraham, and Other Marketing Wizards. See this thing? It's a big, 8.5 by 11 hardbound book. I bought this book, I want to say, so the copyright is 1993 and 1994. So I probably bought this thing in 1994 for $400. This one book, $400. And for you cynics out there, yes, I got sold. And you know what? I'm damn glad I did, because this book started me on a path that has made me millions and millions and millions of dollars in my lifetime. Okay? It started me on a path. So in this book, one of the Jay Abraham, if you're not familiar with Jay Abraham, he's a really annoying dude, but brilliant. But because of Jay, I found my mentor, Dan Kennedy. Okay? Because Jay talks, all over the place, all over here. Dan shows you exactly how to do it. Okay? So I found Dan. Anyway, both of these guys, all of these guys talk about staying in touch with your customers, that it's your most valuable asset. So since 1994, which was how many years ago? A long damn time ago, 24 years ago. Oh my God, 24 years ago. I have been all about staying in front of customers. So I didn't make this stuff up, okay? Now, the best way to do this, from my experience and my experience with my clients over the last 10 years, there's no better way to do it than with a company newsletter. Okay, and if you don't have a company newsletter, you're not taking a little tiny piece of your marketing budget and putting it into something that stays in touch with your customers in a friendly, engaging, entertaining way, you're missing out. Plain and simple, you're missing out. Okay. Now this is this is an example of one of the ones that we put out called the Happy Home Gazette. But here's some reasons why you need or want a company newsletter. Okay. One, it increases the number of times your customer does business with you. Why? Because you're constantly promoting everything that you do. You're stay with them. You know, month after month, year after year, you're there, you're with them. You increase the number of referrals because if you do it right, you're going to talk about your referral program and how important referrals are. You're going to introduce new products and services, right? The client I was talking about that I was with yesterday, big company. They do, how many jobs did they, anyway, it's a crazy number of jobs every I think they're going to do 10 or 15,000 jobs this year, something like that. Crazy, right? They just started a whole new service. What did we create for their newsletter that's going out in a few weeks? An insert talking about that new service. They're going to kill it, right? Because they're going to their past customers. It builds relationship because it's not always about, you know, me, and, you know, give me more money and give me more money. It's about building relationship. That's what newsletters do really, really well. It helps keep your customers away from your competition because you're staying in front of them and letting them know, hey, you know, we care. We value you as a customer. We stay top of mind with them because, again, if we let them, they will forget about us pretty damn quickly. And newsletters have staying power. If a print newsletter especially, they have staying power. Done right, it'll hang around, okay? They even could pass it on to somebody, okay, because it's physical. Ultimately, look, I want to protect my customers. I want to defend them against my competition. Why? Because they want your customer. They want your customer because this person's already bought home improvements before, right? So if they bought once, they're likely to buy something else again. So your competition wants your customer and you can't allow it, okay? That's the second piece. Ongoing communication. Stay with them, stay with them, stay with them. The last piece, I'm just going to talk about this for a couple of minutes here, and I'll take questions, by the way. I think somebody, do I have a question? No open questions. I thought somebody. Okay, I'm still getting used to this Zoom, but man, I like it a lot more than GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar. Once I figure it, you know, once I get it completely figured out. Number 3, establish the relationship early. So we base everything that we do for our clients on these 4 pillars of relationship marketing. And I'm not going to go into detail on all of them. If you want more information, we're happy to give you more information on it. But number 1 is customer appreciation. What do you do after the job has been completed to say thank you? Do you send out a gift? Do you send out a thank you card? Do you make a phone call? The more memorable the gift is, the more memorable the gesture is, the better it's going to be for you to, you know, stay top of mind with them and then, you know, get more reviews, get more referrals, that sort of thing. The second thing, obviously, is we want to get feedback and we want to drive that feedback and get reviews online. Critical. Got to get reviews online in the places that matter. Google matters, Facebook matters, Better Business Bureau matters. Why do they matter? Because they show up on the first page. And Google right now is king, okay? Again, you know, reviews are not the topic of this, but if you want information about that, just reach out to us. 3, you've got to set up a referral rewards program and make sure they know about it. and that you're constantly reminding them about it. And then the last piece is this piece, the long-term nurture piece, right? Stay in front of them, stay in front of them, stay in front of them. Oh, that's a good question. Okay, there's a couple of questions here that I'm going to get to in just a second. So establish the relationship early, then you don't have to go dumpster diving, because you know what? Because you haven't thrown your customer in the trash. The reason I call it dumpster diving, look, I didn't say it earlier, but I'm going to say it now. The reason I call it dumpster diving is because what do most companies do? They get the lead, they make the sale, they install the job, and then what? They completely ignore their customer. They neglect their customer. They just file them away somewhere and move on to the next one. What happens when you have that attitude? What happens when you physically do that? You throw them in the trash can. And so then later, you got to get somebody like me, or you got to, like, you know, you have an oh shit moment, and then you go dumpster diving. Well, let's not throw them in the dumpster to begin with. This is the best way to do it. Okay? This is the best way to do it. Again, this is just an idea of how we do it here for our clients. So step one, immediately we say, you know, we send out email, we say thank you, we request reviews, we send out a text or authentic feedback platform. Step two is we send out an appreciation package. We say thank you. We put a bounce back gift card in there for them to come back. We then put them into the referral rewards program, and then we just, you know, we constantly are reminding them about referrals, and, you know, through the referral rewards program and the contests that we run and all of that. And then last piece, finally, step four is that we put them into a long-term nurture program, which involves physical printed newsletters, email newsletters, email communications from the owner to stay top of mind with that customer. All right. So why do we need to do this? Avoid oh shit marketing. Don't let yourself get in a spot where, oh crap, I need leads. And then you go, you know, back into your database and you start calling. Develop that relationship early. And by the way, if you've been doing it that way, like, you know, ignoring them, it's not too late to start now. That's part of my point here. There is an opportunity there. Start now. All right. Your competition is not going away, at least not until, you know, the economy turns a little bit, which it inevitably is going to happen. You just don't want to be the company that gets, you know, that's the one that shuts down because you were relying on new, or your overhead was too high and your marketing costs were out of control, right? You don't want to be that company. Again, to have real long-term staying power and build real wealth in this business, you've got to establish relationships with your customers. You've got to prevent them from going to your competition. You've got to stay top of mind with your best customers. By the way, if you do this right, you give your salespeople an unfair advantage in the house. Why? Because why? Because they're in front of what I call friendlies. They're in front of people that have already done business with you, or they're in front of people that have referred you to somebody. Okay? That is giving your salespeople an unfair advantage in the house. And then, of course, you've got to do everything you can to maximize the overall lifetime profit value of each and every customer. Okay? How do you pay for this? Take a little piece of your marketing budget. A little piece. You know, take 95% of your budget, use it on front-end lead generation. Take 5% and devote it to this. Okay? For some people, that number probably should be a little bit higher. For some people, it could be a little bit lower. Okay? You know, one of my best clients has a 2% lead cost, okay, on $28 million in sales, okay? Do you know where most of that money goes? Most of that money goes to the relationship that they've developed with their customers. Now, look, I'm not saying that that's going to work for you, but if they can do it at 80, can you do it at 30, right? But it didn't happen overnight. This is not an overnight fix, okay? Don't think that. I mean, look, can we within 60 days pull money out of your database? Yeah, probably. But to do this right, you have to have a long-term mentality, okay? You can't only be thinking short-term leads, right? You've got to be thinking long-term, okay? So that's how you pay for this. So I'm actually going to make you guys an offer here because and Clifton asked the question, is it possible to have the newsletters you send out customized specifically for a company? Yes. So we have a newsletter that we produce, a print newsletter, every January, April, July, and October. In fact, we're working on the April issue right now, okay? Goes out about mid-April. It's called the Happy Home Gazette. And yes, what we do is we customize it for our clients' companies, okay? So it's not coming from me, it's coming from you. So, you know, got the owner's picture on it, your logo, your phone numbers, your offers, your referral rewards program, all of that. The other thing that we've got is we do, and I think you've got to do 1,000 newsletters or more to your past customers, but we'll also do a custom full color double-sided insert. Now this whole thing is basically the workhorse of our program, of our entire program. And so it's one thing that we actually will sell as a standalone because it does work well on its own. We won't do gifting on its own because we're not a gifting company. It's not about, it's not about us sending cookies. It's about creating a holistic system for creating relationships. But this one piece does work incredibly well on its own. Okay, so some of the people to send this to is past customers, new customers, and then in some cases, I have clients that send this to their demo no sales. Okay, demo no sales, to stay in touch with them as well. We write it, we design it, we create all the content, we manage it, and we execute it. If you do this newsletter, the only thing you really have to do, give us your offers and we'll help you with that. And two, give us your, obviously your company branding, your logo, an image of the owner. We'll send you a proof to look at. But all in all, you're looking at about maybe half an hour every quarter, for us to execute this for you. All right. So if you're interested in this, we've got our website URL down below, but the best thing to do is just call us 305-856-8788 and just set up a meeting with us. Depending on the volume that you do with the newsletters, I mean, there's as low as $120 per person per quarter up to a couple dollars per person per quarter. Super reasonable, super affordable. And again, we do all the work. And that includes, by the way, that includes all the printing, the mailing, the postage, all of it. Okay. Now, if you are interested in doing this for the April issue, which is our next issue that's coming up, and you don't have a company newsletter, I will give you as a bonus, I'm going to give you our referral rewards program. Okay, it's embedded into the newsletter. We run a contest every quarter, and the contest really is just an excuse for us to show up and remind people about referrals. Okay, so we'll include the referral rewards program at no additional cost to you. This is another part of it. We're doing, I think this season actually, we're doing a cruise again. This is the sample that we did. But when you're a part of the referral rewards program, you get stuff. We send you stuff every quarter to your office because we got to get everybody engaged, not just your customers, but also your staff. But we'll talk to you about all of that and walk you through how it works. The other thing that I will offer you guys that are on this right now is I'll offer you the online, the email version of the newsletter as a bonus. So if you're going to do 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000, however many newsletters you're going to do, we'll also do the email newsletter for you as well. There's a few conditions with that though, because we're not spammers, but we'll talk to you about what those conditions are and how that works. We're not spammers and we don't want you to be spammers, okay? Now, the April issue closes March 22nd. Sorry, guys. My nose is itchy. The April issue closes March 22nd, which is in a couple of weeks. So if you've ever wanted a company newsletter, if you've ever thought about doing a company newsletter, it does not get any easier than this, okay? And it probably doesn't get any cheaper either, all right? By the way, there is a setup fee for this. What I'll do is, if you mention this webinar, okay, so not only are you gonna get the referral rewards program as a bonus, not only are you gonna get the email version of the newsletter as a bonus, I'll give you $200 off the setup. The setup's regularly $495. I'll set it up for $295. All right. I don't usually pitch like this on these webinars, but it's, you know, there is a issue coming up, and I thought it's a perfect time. Here's the information for you to contact us. If you have any questions, you know, just reach out to us and we're happy to do it. By the way, one of the other things that I didn't mention is if you're interested in a reactivation program, reach out to us as well. Those are a little more complicated. It's not as simple as the newsletter program is. As far as execution goes, the reactivation program takes a little bit of conversation because we've got to ask you a few questions about your business, about your database, about the products that you sell, and then we'll come back to you with some ideas on a good reactivation program for you. But the newsletter is probably one of the best places for you to start. So are there, I think there's, hold on, there's a question. What is your recommended referral program? Okay, so if I understand the question, if I understand what you're asking, because I want to make sure I hit it, is what do I recommend as a referral program? So here's what I tell my clients. What I want in terms of a referral is I just want the opportunity to go meet with somebody and sit down with them. That's all I want. It's not the responsibility of the person making the referral to sell the job for me, okay? Too many referral programs that I see are complicated, super complicated. I was on the phone with somebody the other day. They were, you know, explaining their referral program to me. It had points. You got this if you did that. And if we sell the job, you get that. That's complicated. Make it simple, 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 simple. So I say, to all my clients, I recommend do either $25 or $50. The amount does not matter. The gesture is what matters. So somebody makes a referral, that referral turns into an appointment, okay? You run that appointment, they get, regardless of what happens, regardless of if they buy or don't buy, you send them a thank you with a check or whatever, a gift card or something for 25 bucks or 50 bucks. We do checks. We can track them. It's easier than doing gift cards. Gift cards are a little bit of a nightmare. We used to do gift cards, but now we just write a check. 25 bucks, 50 bucks. I've had clients do $250 before. It doesn't make a difference. It's all about the gesture. All right. So I hope that answers the question. Anybody else have a question? Can you give me an example of what type of customer would be on the reactivation program list? So it depends on the type of business that you've got. So if you're a one product company, let's say like roofing, okay, roofing, I would probably target only all of your repair people, all of the repair people. If you're roofing, window, siding, bathrooms, right, I would look at, like I said earlier, I'd probably go into the database and I'd probably say, give me the names of the people that are anywhere from about 9 months to a year up to maybe 3 years, depending on how big that list is. So, some of our clients do 1,000 jobs a year. And so I would probably want to keep the test somewhere in the 1,000 people range. So that's kind of what I would look at. It really kind of depends on the type of business that you are in. One of those examples I showed you, by the way, was a one product company, Windows. But a lot of window companies do partials. Probably half their business is partials. Only if the house has 20 windows, they only do 5 or they only do 10. So there's a huge opportunity there to go after them for the rest of the house. So I hope that answers the question. This is completely off topic, but I'll answer the question. Are phone books still a good place to advertise? So that's an interesting question. So the thing with phone books that's really interesting is that people think that phone books are dead. They're not. They're still being delivered. So I would look at it, but a lot of those places now are willing to do pay-per-call deals. So if they're willing to do a pay-per-call deal, take it. Be there. Do it. Just don't look like everybody else. Just don't look like everybody. Make sure your ad does not look like everybody else. But a pay-per-call deal is, if a call, the way that you can, you go to them with it is, if the call lasts more than 60 seconds, then it's a legit call. Because the thinking there is that you've actually been able to have a conversation with the person that called in off of that ad. Okay. The tough thing there is that when you do a pay-per-call deal, a lot of times they will not put a website address on the ad, which is fine because people are in a phone book. So if they're in a phone book, they're going to pick up the phone, right? Because they didn't go to the internet. So again, I hope that answers your question. All right, so we are we're a few minutes over. I hope this has been of value. If I can do anything to help you, please reach out to me. I'm here for you. Newsletters, March 22nd, which is in about 2 weeks. Let us know. We'd love to talk to you about it. Newsletter is one of my favorite things that we do, and we do a pretty damn good job of it. So if it's something that we can help you with, I'm happy to do it. Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. Somebody just said thank you in the chat box. Richard, can we get a copy of this webinar? We will be sending out a replay email. That is going to change, by the way, this year for those of you that are regular, that have been on these webinars before. We are probably only going to make the replay available for a shorter period of time, and then they're going to go behind a wall. But yes, you will get a replay of this webinar. Thanks from Earl and Company. Hey, Ed. Okay, awesome. Glad you were here. Let me know if I can help you in any way. Okay. So thank you. There's still a whole bunch of you here. I always hate to like end the webinar when there's so many people on still. But there aren't any other questions. I don't think you want to see me sing and dance. I definitely won't be entertaining. So until next time, I appreciate all of you. I hope you're having a kick-ass first quarter and a start to 2019. And keep it up. Let me know if I can help you. Thanks all. Bye-bye.